Betrayed. Broken, reborn. This is Novel Binge.
2 days before the product launch, Sunian replaced my name as the lead creator of the Langson Gen 3 with her old flame. She said the market only recognized Lu Cheng's intonation, credentials, and told me not to make a scene. I didn't argue. I didn't slam the door either. I just took one last look at the name that had been crossed out. Returned to Underground Research Lab. I deactivated the non-emergency authorization for the demonstration system. On the day of the launch, live was streamed nationwide. They finally realized that the person they had kicked out of the credits the creators list was the one held the final key to the chip. On the final agenda sent by the PR department, the speaker slot read Lu Chengzi, the technical lead slot read Lu Chengzi. As for me, Zhou Yan, I was erased, only on the last page in an inconspicuous spot. RID consultant. I stared at it for a long time. The cold light of the screen fell on the back of my hand, and the air conditioning in the underground lab chilled my knuckles. I forwarded that PDF to Sunian, asking only one sentence: who changed the list? 5 minutes later, she replied with a voice message. The background was noisy background, sounded like a venue rehearsal. Her voice was kept low, but there wasn't hesitant in the slightest. I changed it. I stared at those 3 words, spoken with the same tone. Saying nothing, Sunian sent another message. Zhou Yan, the launch event isn't an internal technical meeting. Investors, media, and hospital representatives will all be there, and Chengzi's overseas experience makes him more suited to be in the spotlight. I'm typing. I am the one who designed the underlying architecture of Langson Gen 3. There was a pause for a few seconds. She called directly. After I answered, the first thing I heard was Lu Chengzi's laughter. Nian, pass me the script. Nian, that is a name I haven't heard anyone call her that in years. Sunian seemed to have walked a little farther away before speaking. Zhou Yan, don't pick a fight with me at this critical moment. This. I held the phone, my palm against its body. It was heating up slowly. What am I making a scene? The matter of the signature. She was a bit impatient. Fide. I'm not saying not that I don't acknowledge your contributions. Who inside the company doesn't know you're the veteran RID? But the product launch needs to tell a story. It has to tell a story the capital can understand by capital. I asked softly. So I see. So in this story I don't appear at all. The line went silent for a moment. Then, Sunian let out a sigh. ASDATSOA. Must you be so sharp? Do you know how hard it has been for the company to bring back to help Final Barrier? I gave a small laugh. No sound at all. He has been back for 3 weeks, and he is the author of Langson. That is just media hype. My name was deleted. That is also packaging. Sunian's tone turned cold. Zhou Yan, I don't want to argue. I will compstate after Launcer. Binasi quit incentive stock postion. What VR want discs? I look at the old ID badge on the table. The edges of the ID badge has been worn white. 5 years ago, Star Landstar had only 7 people, with its servers rented in a server room in the suburbs. Sunian Su, in high heels, went to meet investors, while I crouched in front of a leaking cabinet, using a hairdryer to dry the circuit board. She said Joe. I believed it at the time. Now, the most important person of the utmost importance has become the RID consultant I've become. I closed the process. She'd off. I don't want compensation. Sunian clearly wasn't listening. She quickly added I still need to oversee the site. Stabilize the lab first. Start Chengzi is bringing investors for a tour the afternoon. Don't make him lose face. The call ended. I inched back in my chair and sat there, motionless. Rows of server cabinets, glowing in rows of blue lights in cabinet blue, in rows. Those lights blinked quietly, flashing silently, blinking. Like every late night I have held her steady or her over these past few years. When Luo Jiangguo pushed the door open, just as I was just opening the system logs, he held a cup of lee, cup in hand. He held a cup held. The lid tapping of lid against rim, producing a clear ring. You know about the list? I didn't look up. Yes. Old Luo was silent for a moment, then walked behind me and glanced at the screen. The next moment, he furrowed his brows. Why is there an additional external call in the security layer? I scrolled through the logs and opened the record from yesterday at 3 a.m. The interface name had been modified. The call path bypassed the original key validation. It was cleverly written. It is not a rookie mistake, but the person who wrote it clearly didn't. That the security layer of the Langson Gen 3 isn't just an ordinary firewall. It connects to emergency triage systems, medication alerts, medication warnings, and remote diagnostic terminals. If the underlying logic deviates, the consequences won't be as simple as an error message popping an error on the screen. Dai, who changed it? Lao Luo lowered his voice low. I looked at the submitter, the preparer. I looked at the submitter, at the 3 of the Wei Swine Lin Zhou Fengvi of the end of the line, the new tech team newcomer brought in by Lu Chengzi. New team. Old Luo swore. They don't know a damn thing. The safety layer of security was something, line by line, by you back then. and I wouldn't even dare to mess with it. I said nothing, and said nothing, continuing to flip through the pages. 3 interfaces had been tampered with, 1 model's threshold was overwritten, and a set of gray box test results had been marked as pending synchronization. Old Luo stood beside me, his expression darkening by the second. Daddy, Zhou Yan, you need to stop this. This version can't put this version straight into the press conference. I closed the log off FF. I'll eek. Old Luo gave me a look, opening saying something. After a long moment, heave of breath, he heaved a sigh. CEO Su might not listen to you now. I draped my coat over my arm, then let her report. Will be there to hear the report. At 3 o'clock, it was the executive meeting. The conference room was on the 27th floor. Beyond the glass walls lay the skyscrapers of Cloudport Cloud CBD and the river surface, the sunlight making the conference table gleam on the glint off the conference table. As I walked in, Lu Chengzi was standing in front of the screen, presenting a PPT. He wore a dark gray suit of deep gray, his cufflinks gleaming cufflinks, catching the light from his cufflinks of his sleeve. Su Nian sat at the head of the table. Zheng Huayuan sat on her right-hand side, with 2 lawyers following him. Behind, a line of English text was written on the screen. Global Intelligent Medical Chip Architecture, UPGRA. D. Lu Chengzi saw me and gave a slight smile. Ah, Engineer Zhou has arrived. Perfect timing. I was just discussing the old architecture revamp. The old architecture. I pulled out a chair and sat down. He clicked to the next slide. Above are a few beautiful line charts with beautiful curves. The original underlying design of the Langson Gen 3 is very bleh, but also very conservative. Frankly speaking, it is suited for the lab, but not for the capital market. He looked at everyone, his tone light. What we need is a more aggressive performance. CE narrative. The Yonggang project reviewers won't just look at stability alone at stability. They'll also look at future potential. Zheng Huayuan nodded. That. Right on to point. I looked up. Medical chips are not for healthcare, are no place for storytelling. The meeting room fell silent for a moment. Lu Cheng's smile faded slightly. Dai Dao Sad. Zhou, I respect your past contributions, but that is how technology iteration for you. Just because some people have emotional attachments to old code, you can't hold the company back. I looked at him. You tampering with the security layer. Lu Chengzi did not avoid my gaze. It's an optimization. Circumventing key validation is what you call an optimization. He put down the laser pointer. Mr. Zhou, Dr. Zhou, do you have some kind of bias against me? I didn't respond. Su Nian spoke up. Zhou Yan, now is not the time for discussing personal emotions. I looked at her. This is a safety issue of safety. She rubbed her forehead. The algorithm package has passed the preliminary evaluation, and the investors approved of the algorithmic package delivered an enthusiastic affirmation. Zhou Yan, don't dismiss it outright before you even look. YT, where is the gray box test report? I asked. Su Nian paused mid motion. The legal representative behind Zheng Huayuan slid a document, pushed a file in front of me. Engineer Master Zhou, let's talk about the test report later. There is more important matter at hand. I looked down. Supplementary agreement on ownership of R1D achievements. The file very thick. The first page states that Zhou Yan must unconditionally assist Xinglan Medical Technology in completing the collection of all codes, models, algorithms, keys, and related to Langson 3rd generation chip, and associated intellectual property rights and models. Unconditionally. All of it. Consolidation. I've closed the file. I'm not signing it. Zheng Huayuan leaned back into his chair, his smile chair faint. Don't rush to refuse. Zhou, the company swilling is just. You'll be fairly rewarded afterward. Zhou signing. We engineer will give 2 million bonus and a long-term consultant. A long-term sign. We'll give you an additional 2 million bonus and a long-term consultant agreement. GE consultant. Lu Chengzi also smiled. Engineer Zhou, you tech people are so naive. The company platform cultivated you work for has groomed you, and now just standardizing things before. Read the process before going public. Isn't that perfectly normal? I looked at him. Who is grooming who? His face darkened for half a split second. Su Nian suddenly spoke. Yeah, I've had enough. Find enough. She looked at me, her voice lower than just. Zhou Yan, take the agreement back and read it. Don't make things awkward for everyone. The meeting. I pushed the agreement back. Day end. I told you. I told I. The air in the meeting room suddenly stiffened. The last trace of politeness in Zheng Huayuan's eyes disappeared. Engineer Zhou, you need to reconsider. The Langson Gen 3 is a company project. Yording highest without handing over that in is. The highest authority is for the sake of. Safety isn't determined by you alone by you. I smiled. Then let a third party have a third party evaluation. Lu Chengzi immediately continued. It is not too late to assess after the press conference. I turned to Su Nian. Dale, the conference cannot proceed with this version. Her face had gone completely cold. Zhou Yan. She rarely calls me by my full name like this at the company. In the past, when she was anxious, she would call me a Yan. Now, she calls me Zhou Yan. Are you absolutely have to prove that you're the most important one who matters most after Chengzi comes back? My fingers stopped at the edge of the document. I said nothing more. So she really thought I was just fighting for favor. After the meeting, Su Nian called me into her office. Once the door closed, the coldness on her face eased slightly. You showed me too much face just now. I stood by the door. The gray box report was suppressed. Say B. Leave it to the testing department. Shu Tang's access has been locked. Bin. Su Nian's brow furrowed. How do you know you? I didn't answer. She walked over to the desk and picked up a pie. CK'd up. 上面印着陆承泽的名字 Co-Chief Technology Officer. I stared at those words for a few seconds. Su Nian followed my gaze, as if she finally understood. Her voice softened a bit. Fei. Zhou Yan. Do you think I'm being partial? I didn't answer immediately. She took a few steps closer. I know you've invested a lot for Singlet, but the company has to survive. Can't just technology. Lu Chengzi has overseas experience, has the trust of capital. He helped me take to the top. Can't I? She remained silent. This silence was clearer than any answer. After a moment, she said, You're not suited to stand in the spotlight. I nodded. So I guess I'm only belong in the basement. Su Nian frowned. Don't say that. So how should be? Said how? She suppressed her anger. I've already reserved a senior advisor position for you. After the press conference, I'll have finance provide you with a bonus. Besides, haven't been complaining about being you're too old. I can approve up. I looked at her. Su Nian, you know that is not what I care about. She suddenly smiled. The smile was weary and also piercing. Then what do you care about? About Lu Chengzi? About him being my ex-boyfriend being? Something caught in my throat. She continued. Dai Ting, Zhou Yan, the company is not a place for you to indulge in your personal jealousies. A knock came from outside the office. Lu Chengzi's voice filtered in. Nian, the investors have arrived. Su Nian didn't open the door, only fixed her gaze on me. I hope you'll act more maturely. I took out the badge from my pocket and placed it on her desk. The metal buckle touched the tabletop, the sound very gently. I'll rerun the safety tests tonight. If the report still shows issues, I'll formally submit a delay proposal for an extension. Su Nian's face grew even uglier. The press conference has already been announced. Media across the city have been invited across the city, and people from Cloud Harbor First Hospital, 3 emergency centers, and the Smart Medical Project review groups will attend. You want to postpone it now? Say postpone it. Yes. Do you have any idea how much this will cost the company? Do you have any idea what a system misdiagnosis by the system means for the hospital? She averted her gaze. This time, she didn't answer. 2 more knocks came from outside the door. Lu Chengzi chuckled lightly. Nian, don't keep the investors waiting, and it won't be good. Su Nian took a deep breath and said to compose herself and said to me, Zhou Yan, synchronize the final security layer permissions to Chengzi by tonight. I looked at her. What if I don't sync? Her gaze turned distant. Don't force me to handle it. I stood there for 2 seconds, then reached out and took back my ID badge. Then follow the procedure. I opened the door and walked out. Lu Chengzi was standing outside. He looked at me, then at the nameplate on Su Nian's desk. His smile deepened. Don't be too stubborn. The times have changed. Brushed him as I walked by. The underlying logic hasn't unchanged. At 8 in the evening, the underground lab was left with only the sound of server fans from the servers. Shu Tang sent me a message. Engineer Zhou, I am in the B3 stairwell. When I went downstairs, she was standing behind the fire door, holding her laptop clutched to her chest. Her face was stark white. The report was deleted. I took her laptop from her. The backup. She bit her lip. I kept a local copy, but department permissions were just revoked. Director Zheng's people said sharing it further would breach confidentiality. I opened the report. Emergency triage, simulation scenario, 3,000 samples. After Lu Chengzi's new algorithm package was integrated, the recall rate for rare disease identification dropped by 17 percentage points. 3 groups of elderly myocardial infarction samples were misclassified into the general chest pain cohort. This is not a minor issue. In a few minutes in a hospital can mean the difference between life and death. Shu Tang lowered her voice. Zhou, this version really can't be released. I copied the report onto the encryptate drive. Don't touch the system for now, but they want me to assist with adjusting the threshold for the new team tonight. Don't sign any confirmation. She nodded, then quickly lifted her head. Zhou Yan, will you be okay? I watched the emergency lights flickering in the fire escape. It is not time for trouble yet. Back in the lab, I sent an email to Su Nian. An email. The theme is very simple. Formal recommendation regarding the delay of the Langson Gen 3 launch version. The test summary is in the attachment. I didn't send the full report. 10 minutes later, Su Nian called. Her first words weren't about the report. Instead, she asked me, "Did you drag Shu Tang into this as well?" I closed my eyes. Tayan. She is the test lead. I asked if you had her bypass the chain of command chain to give you the documents. Su Nian. There is a risk of misjudgment in the report. DADATO. Chengzi said that is an extreme sample from extreme cases. It won't trigger on release of the demo, will not. My hand, holding the mouse, froze. The medical system cannot rely on not being tried, geared to ensure safety. Her voice was laced with suppressed irritation. Zhou Yan, I know you're professional, but can you stop only focusing on the risks every single time? If this company misses the IPO window, we're going public. What about the patients? The other end of the line went silent. Then she said, the press conference will proceed as scheduled. I heard myself ask, is this your decision? Yes. She paused, her tone slightly softening. Yan, once this is over, we'll talk properly. Yan. These two words had been delayed far too long, but all I felt was cold. Okay. I hung up the call. Then he filed away the email, the call logs, and the test summary. Chen Mo once said Tae, your biggest flaw is trusting emotions. Zhou Yan, don't keep the evidence in your mouth. That day, for the first time, I felt he was right. At 9 o'clock, the next morning, my access card stopped working. Outside the underground laboratory, the administrative manager stood at the front with 2 security guards stood at the door. Lin Zhou stood behind them, arms crossed. He saw me and raised his chin with a smile. Morning, Engineer Zhou. The administrative manager handed me a piece of paper. Engineer Zhou, for the board's interim resolution. You're temporarily suspended pending an internal review. Please hand over your employee badge, access card, and lab keys. I looked down at the notice. The reason was beautifully written. Due to personal emotions affecting project progress, there have engaged inappropriately accessed internal test materials and documentation, interfering with the release process and other behaviors. I looked up. Who signed it? The administrative manager avoided my gaze. Sai President Su and President Zheng. I nodded, took off my access card. Lu Qiangguo rushed out from inside. You all have lost your minds. If you suspend Zhou Yan now, who is going to hold down the fort at the press conference? Lin Zhou let out a snort, a laugh. Engineer Luo, what era do you think this is? Still believing in personal heroism. CEO Lu has already taken over. Old Luo glared at him. Don't you understand the security layer? Lin Zhou's face darkened. I don't understand your outdated methods, old-fashioned methods, but I do understand efficiency. I placed the access card in the administrative manager's hand. My personal device. The administrative manager said to the administrative manager, Daddy, company computers need to be retained for review. 我看向他, that one is mine. Lin Zhou Yan's father interrupted. Engineer Zhou, don't be so petty. All right, everything inside is project materia. What do you mean by taking it away? I looked at him, with no particular emotion. Didn't you say the old code was outdated? He choked. I walked around him and went into the lab to pack my things. There were no personal items on the desk. An old mechanical keyboard, a black notebook filled with architectural sketches in black. Also, the thermal mug Nian gave me 3 years ago. On bottom, a sticker she wrote with her own hand. Don't forget to drink your coffee cold. I'll be mad. Don't stay up too late. I'll give you a long vacation for you once the product goes live. The edges of the sticky note were already curling. I stared at it for 2 seconds, then tore it down and tossed it into the trash. Old Luo stood beside me, his voice heavy. Zhou Yan, are you really? You're just leaving like this? If I don't leave, how will they know who has been the one holding the system together? But the company still has so many people. I stuffed my notebook into my bag. I won't touch the emergency switch. Old Luo was momentarily stunned. He seemed to understand, yet dared not confirm. I patted him on the shoulder. Keep an eye on Lu Chengzi. Don't let him touch the production whitelist. When I walked out of the Singlan building, the company group chat had already exploded. Someone sent me a screenshot. Did you hear that Zhou Yan has been suspended? It should have been called off by now. Throwing a tantrum right before the press conference. Things are different now that Director Lu is back, said someone from the old tech team in a panic. Don't say that moment. Ingning around looks really gloomy and kind of darkness. Pretty da. Creepsta. Lin Zhou sent a message. The company won't come to a standstill just because someone's gone. A string of agreements followed in agreement. I finished reading and muted the group chat. Just as I reached the parking lot, Su Nian came chasing after. She wore a white suit, with her hair pulled back tightly. He still appears to be that same CEO Su who can command the spotlight in front of investors. She walked over to me and extended her hand. Give me the last set of keys. No explanation. No apology. No apology. Not even a single wait. You've suspended me. I'm Just a formality. A faint furrow appeared, Thundi between her brows, mentioned, Joe Yan, don't make this escalate. Hand over the key, fine key, and after the press conference goes smoothly, I'll let you back. What are you coming back for? I'll set up a separate architecture committee under the CTO. I laughed. Lu Chengzi is the CTO, and I'm the committee. A flicker of unease crossed Sunian's face. It is only temporary. Don't always fixate on the title. I looked up at him. ND, was that what you thought when you deleted my name? Her voice turned colder. Joe Yan, do you have to have settle scores with me right now? You're the one asking me for something. She took a deep breath. Where can you go if you leave Singlan? Every smart healthcare AI project in Cloudport is tied to Singlan. Don't ruin yourself just to spite. I looked at her. For a long time, she probably thought I would stay silent, back down, and fix the problem like before. Because for the past 5 years, that's exactly how it's always been. When the server crashed, I fixed it. When the technical section of the funding materials had issues, I revised it. When an accident happened during the hospital pilot at the hospital, I rushed to the scene overnight. Sunian was being harassed by investors, so I stepped in from the back end, took over the remote demo to hold things together for her. She had long grown accustomed to it. Habit made a habit of habit that I would never leave. I clutched the car key, clenched in the palm of my hand. The key cannot be given. Her expression finally changed, face finally appeared at last. Joe Yan, don't push me. I lowered my head and smiled faintly. You said that yesterday. She stared at me. Anger, rising anger in her eyes. What exactly do you want? I said. Postpone the release. Impossible. Then there is nothing to discuss. I turned around and got into the car. Sunian stood outside the car window for a long time. Finally, she uttered coldly, you'll come crawling back to me. I start the engine. No. Turning back. Chen Mo Chen was in the courtroom when I called. He only said one thing after coming out, finally ready to make a move. I sat in the car, sat by the roadside, looking at the glass curtain wall of Star Curtain building wall. Deity, how many terms did they violate? The rustling of documents came from Chen Mo's end. Article 4 of the individual patent, staged licensing agreement on attribution rights. Article 7 on usage boundaries, and Article 11 on safety compliance constraints. Plus, regarding the supplementary agreement they had you sign today, if coercion or material misrepresentation is involved, we can challenge it. I ask, will suspending the authorization affect the hospitals? Didn't you have an emergency whitelist BA? CK then? Kept it. Then we'll only suspend non-emergency commercial demos and unregistered expansion ports. Chen Mo let out a laugh. Legal, restraint, and enough to keep them busy. I said nothing. Chen Mo also fell silent. After a moment later, he asks, have you finally given up for real? I rolled down the car window down. The wind swept in from outside, carrying a hint of rain. The first thing she said to me today was to hand over key. Chen Mo cursed under his breath. I've always said that. I said Ash. I didn't answer. He asked again. Deity, should we send the authorization termination notice now? Wait until before the press conference. You still want to give her another chance? I stared at that building in the rearview mirror. I want to see if they stop. Chen Mo was silent for a few seconds. Joe Yan, they won't stop. I know, but that is just sometimes. Sometimes, that is how people are. Even when the answer is already right in front of them, they wait for that final moment anyway. Only after that final blow lands can I make a cleanly turn around. That very evening, I received a message from Sunian. It wasn't an apology. It was a new process schedule. Lu Chengzi's name was placed further forward. The main title of the press conference, was also changed. Langson Gen 3rd Generation. The next generation smart medical engine led by Dr. Lu Chengzi. Doctor, I tapped on his resume page. Core member of a top-tier overseas medical AI chip projects overseas. Visiting researcher at a laboratory in Massachusetts. Architectural consultant for a European medical platform. Every item was written to soundly and glorious. But there are 2 project names of 2 projects, which I checked by me months ago. It doesn't match. I screenshot and sent it to Chen Mo. Don't touch this one for now. Chen Mo replied quickly. There is still a backup plan. Yeah, you really can hold it in well. I turned off my phone. It is not about me being able to take it. It is but because I don't want my counterattack to become an emotional outburst. Medical systems are different. It is not a game, not ad placement, not a financial model. They are connected to real people. So I'd rather go slow. I'd rather take things slow down. Complete the evidence must be complete. The permissions precise. Every step must be defensible. The night before the press conference, Star's rehearsal went wrong during rehearsal. The first person to call me was Xu Tang. Her voice lowered. Engineer, Mr. Zhou, didn't said the team members reporting the issue. The demo side has locked up 3 times. I glanced at the back end on my computer. The non-emergency demonstration authorization has entered a pre-warning state. I haven't officially suspended nothing. I haven't officially suspended it yet. I only FID only. The temporary expansion interface was revoked. What prompt is that? Security layer not passed. Authorization chain. Abnormal authorization chain. She paused for a moment. Lu Chengzi said it was a backdoor left behind. By you left behind. I smiled. Daddy, what else did he say? He said he would bring the new technology team, would rebuild the startup chain tonight. I sat up a little straighter. Did he touch the production side? Not yet, but he said that if it still won't start up by tomorrow morning, we'll create a temporary mirror of the production environment. My gaze grew icy. Shu Tang, record this. Dai Dolphy. I've already recorded the screen. Someone on the other end of the phone called her name is calling her. Shu Tang said quickly said, I'm hanging up please. Are you really not coming back, Joe? I stare at the blinking logs, flickering on the screen. Don't they have Dr. Lu have them? Not long after the call ended Su Nian called. I didn't answer. She kept calling. For the third time I answered. She opened her mouth and said, Zhou Yan, you mess with the back end, get into the back end. I leaned back in my chair. I've been suspended. Say D, don't play word games with words with me. Why is the demo side? Authorization anomalies. Ask your CTO. Her voice rose. This is not the time to throw a tantrum. Nothing can go wrong at tomorrow's press conference tomorrow. Come immediately. I checked the time. 1:17 past 1. Calls back to the company with summons passed. Would have never refused. 1 year, during the initial chip's initial trial at the hospital, the server burned out 3 in the morning. I got up from a fever ran 2 lights to get to the hospital. Sue stood in emergency. Eyes were incredibly red. Me, crying terribly. Zhou Yan, thank goodness, it is a blessing that you are here. Later, she posted on Moments. The picture shows the hospital's glass door at dawn. The copy is, Starland has pulled through. My name is not included. I withdrew my thoughts. I will not go back. There was silence on the phone. A few seconds of silence passed. Su Nian's voice suddenly softened. Ayan, don't be like this. You know how important this press conference is to me. I said. NDSK. You know how important this system is crucial for the hospital. She seemed to be choked up. After a moment, her tone hardened her tone again. Chengzes, said the security layer you wrote E. Earlier was too closed off, which is why the demo couldn't start. Now that you're back, fix the problem and don't make everyone look bad. If that is how he judges it, then let him change. It be changed. Zhou Yan. I hung up the phone. 10 minutes later, Lin Zhou sent in the company group chat. Some old employees still leave traps, even after they dug for us. After resigning. Enough already. Good thing General Lu is personally leading the attend the scene himself tonight. Someone below asked. The press conference tomorrow. No? Lin Zhou replied. Don't worry. Keys from the keys of the old era can't open the doors of the new era. We'll build our own. I stared at that sentence, staring for a few seconds, then take a screenshot and save it. Made the door. They don't know where the wall is. On the day of the press conference, at the Cloudport Convention Center, I didn't go to the scene. Chen Mo left. He wore a suit up, accompanied by 2 lawyers, and sat in the last row. I sat in my newly rented my office, watching the day I sit watching a live broadcast. The office was very small. The walls still have the course schedule, left by the previous training institution, pasted on them. College entrance exam, math sprint class. Only 2 computers, only on the table, 1 desk, 1 printer. Across the window, Lo Dao's. The inpatient building of Yungang First Hospital. Han Qiming sent a message. K Qiming message to me. Engineer Joe, you not at Starland's launch today? I replied, no. Paused for a moment then. I heard the lead creator has been replaced. I didn't reply. He sent again. The medical system is no joke. If you need my input to explain the emergency situation, just let me know anytime. I looked at that sentence and felt a slight relief. Han Qiming wasn't from Singland, but he knew where to draw the line. At exactly 10 o'clock, the press conference began. The large screen, lit up with Singland's logo. Su Nian walked onto the stage. She wore a black long dress today, with sharp, standing under the spotlight like a Dr. On Blake. I used to admire her sharp makeup in the spotlight like a Polish knight. In the past, I appreciated her in this light. She said, on stage, Starland Medical Technology was found. 5 years ago, starting from a lab less than 20 square meters to the cityscape. The camera panned across the guest seats. Investors, media, hospital representatives. Zheng Huayuan sat in the front row, his smile steady and unwavering. Lu Chengzi sat beside Su Nian, a badge-reading chief technology officer, pinned to his chest. Su Nian continued, Today we are honored to welcome back Dr. Lu Chengzi. Back today he will lead Singland from local R&D to an international tech platform. Applause sounded from the audience. I stared at the screen with a blank expression. The barrage comments began to flood in the live stream. Dr. Lu is so young. With a refit, http://www starlan, com hai wai gui lai de CTO starlan, is set this time. I heard the question, hey, the rumor that the head of R&D left. The host had clearly had the script prepared in advance. He asked with a smile and asked, and, President Su, there have been some outside voices saying that the early R&D team for Langson Gen 3 underwent some adjustments. Will this affect product stability? Su Nian held the microphone. Pausing for a moment, she replied with composure, any mature company goes through team evolution. Starlan thanks every colleague who was part of research, but we can't afford to dwell on the past. The camera cut to Lu Chengzi. He took the microphone. Technology isn't built on all-nighters and sheer effort. True architectural skill depends on vision, on standards, on whether you can look toward future. Another round of applause rose from the audience. Zheng Huayuan added with a smile, the company still harbors goodwill towards the few employees who left due to personal grievances. However, the development of Starlan will not be held hostage by anyone. I saw Chenmo at the last row, sending messages, flashing, video saved. I replied with a single word, Lu Chengzi. Lu has already walked to the center of the stage. The large screen switched to a promotional video for the Langson Gen 3. He stood in the light, and his first sentence was, I am Lu Chengzi. Shift Evan for line break. My fingers paused on the keyboard. Core, the creation of the third generation. NZ. These two words were finally spoken with a finality that caused the air in the room to grow heavier still. I opened the back end. The pre-drafted authorization suspension notice, prepared by Chenmo in advance, lay quietly in the outbox. Recipient, Starlan Medical Technology, Legal Department, Cloudport City Smart Medical Project Evaluation Commit, EE for Smart Healthcare Innovation, Evaluation, Yungangang, First Hospital Pilot Project Office, notarized email. I stare at the screen. When Lu Chengzi began demonstrating the emergency triage model, I pressed send. The accident happened very quickly. Lu Chengzi stood on the stage, smiling. Next we will demonstrate the Langson Gen 3 on-site demonstrate in the emergency intelligent triage scenario. The staff brought in the demonstration medical pod for the demonstration. The camera pointed at the terminal. Simulated medical records imported. The screen loads. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The large screen suddenly went dark. Then a line of red text in red appeared in red. DDAT. Authorization, anomaly. Someone in the audience laughed, thinking it was just an ordinary laugh. Lu Chengzi's expression flickered slightly shifted, but he quickly steadied himself. Dian. There is a network fluctuation on site. Try again. The technician restarted the system. This time, the page loaded, but the emergency triage module only loaded to 37% before the system FROs again froze. The red alert turned into 2 lines. Security layer verification failed. Non-emergency commercial authorization. Has license been suspended? The entire venue fell silent. The host froze on the spot. Su Nian stood up, his face slowly turning pale. Lu Chengzi picked up the ear monitor and lowered his voice. Day Estung. What is going on with the backend? Switch to the backup link. The voice of the technician leaked into the backup link is locked too. Where is the mirror? The mirror. Mirror startup requires a key. Hasn't the key been synchronized? The last group is not in the database. Lu Chengzi's expression finally cracked. The barrage exploded. Dayanti, what is the situation? Authorization suspended. Isn't this conference accident? Who authorized the Langson Gen 3 of the Langson chip of Langson? Zheng Huayuan quickly stepped onto the stage and shot a meaningful look at the host. The host immediately smoothed things over. Everyone, take easy. The on-stage equipment is being adjusted, but it was already too late. The live stream footage captured clearly, the red text on the words on the big screen, glaring brightly. I stared at that line of prompt. There was no more exhilarating than imagined. Instead, it was very calm. The system stopped according to the rules. No boundaries were crossed. No harm to any part of the hospital system. It simply refused to endorse a commercial performance that was never authorized. The phone rang. Su Nian. I hung up. She called again. I hung up again. The third time, she sent a message. What exactly did you do? I replied. Suspend non-emergency commercial authorization. She immediately started typing. Are you insane? The entire city's media is here. I looked at that sentence and smiled slightly. She finally realized that the entire city's media was present at the scene. Just now, when they said I left due to personal reasons, the city's media was also present. A message from Chenmo's message popped up. I'm going in. In the live stream, someone in the back row stood up. Chenmo walked down the aisle, followed by 2 lawyers. He walked to the front and placed a document on the podium. His voice was not loud, but but the microphone was still on stage. Microphone was still on. I am Mr. Zhou's legal counsel. Singlan Medical Technology has violated the provisions regarding of personal patent phased patent license, regarding signature attribution, usage purposes, and compliance safety. The meeting hall erupted into uproar. Su Nian walked over, her voice tight. Attorney Chen, this is the press conference venue. Chen Mo looked at her, precisely because it was the launch event. Starland's public statement, just now has already constituted further evidence of further infringement. Zheng Huayuan's face turned ashen. Security, escort this person out. Chen Mo took out the second document. The authorization suspension notice has been sent to your company's legal department, notarized mailbox, and project review panel evaluation team at 10:37 a.m. This suspension is limited to unregistered commercial demos and extended authorization and does not affect the emergency whitelist for registered hospitals. As soon as these words were spoken, Han Qiming stood up. He sat in the hospital representative area of the hospital, his face heavy. President Su Singlan previously assured us that all or authorizations for Langson Gen 3 are complete and compliant. So what is the meaning of the third generation? The meaning of this now? Su Nian's lips parted slightly, did not speak immediately. Lu Chengze suddenly snatched the microphone. This is Zhou Yan's malicious sabotage. He wrote the security layer, and he left a backdoor left by him. I watched him through the screen. Finally, let out a laugh escape. Zheng Huayuan latched onto it like a lifeline, quickly chiming to chime at once. Exactly. After Zhou Yan resentful been suspended, so he exploited his technical privileges to attack the launch system. We'll alert the authorities him accountable. Chen Mo's expression, utterly unfazed. Welcome to call the police. He placed the third document on the table. At the same time, we demand the immediate sealing of the on-site demo server's third-party inspection. Lu Chengzi's face stiffened. Su Nian turned to look at him. In that glance, the first trace of wavering of doubt finally appeared. When I arrived at the convention center, the third-party inspection team had just entered the venue, not invited by Singlan. It was temporarily appointed by the Cloudport Smart Health HCR Project Evaluation Group, Fine Medical Evaluation Committee. The person leading the team was Shen Qinghe. One leading the team was Shen Qing Summer, was Shen Qinghe. She wore a light gray suit, her hair tied her hair back, and remained low-key but the moment she spoke the entire venue fell silent. Since the medical system presentation, the city project review involves city-level program evaluation. Since there has been a dispute regarding authorization and safety, all on-site servers, logs, and presentation terminal are now sealed. Zheng Huayuan was suppressing his anger. Teacher Shen, it was just a minor glitch. There is no need to make a mountain out of a molehill. Shen Qinghe gave him a cold glance. Minor glitch in the emergency triage model. Zheng Huayuan fell silent. As I entered the venue, many eyes turned toward me. Lin Zhou was the first to notice me first. His expression changed. Zhou Yan, how dare you show up here? I ignored him. Su Nian stood by the side of the stage. The moment she saw me, her eyes flickered with an incredibly complex expression. She moved half step forward. Zhou Yan, I stopped in front of her. Day, I'll cooperate with the third-party testing. Her lips parted slightly. Why didn't you answer my calls? I looked at her. Did you even read my report before the press release before the press conference? Her face paled slightly. Lu Chengzi strode over quickly, cutting us off. Zhou Yan, stop playing innocent act. You wrote the security layer. Now the system is locked out. Who else could have done it? I looked at him. Shouldn't you first explain? Why the reason why the demo startup chain connected to an external algorithm package? His expression shifted but soon, he sneered coldly. It is normal for a technical upgrade to require external components. Is bypassing the key authentication, nor Mal 2, making the key personally controlled, is itself non-compliant. I nodded. Then let's test it. Lu Cheng's jaw tightened. Seeing his reaction, Su Nian's expression shifted slightly. Again, growing slightly paler. The test was conducted in a temporary meeting room, adjacent meeting room off the main venue. The server image was pulled out. The logs unfurled one by one. Shen Qinghe sat at the head of the table, while Han Qiming, the project review team, Starland's legal department, and Chen Mo were all in attendance. Su Nian sat across from him. Lu Chengze sat down beside Herrick D. Sampingya. Zheng Huayuan had been on the phone all along. I didn't have said no more. Only provided the original interface documentation for the security layer interface and interface layer, along with the authorization chain documents have been provided as rekey. USD. Shen Qinghe scrolled to a log entry and looked up to ask. At 3:21 a.m. on the 17th of June, who submitted the fallback DKG? Lin Zhou's face turned pale. Lu Chengze immediately said, It was me who approved the temporary optimization package. Shen Qinghe asked, is that you? Optimize what? Model response speed. End 80. Why did it access the unregistered data mapping table? Lu Chengzi paused for a moment. Probably, the test configuration might not have been cleared properly. Xu Tang stood at the door, suddenly spoke up. No. Everyone turned to look at Look. She was holding the held her laptop. Knuckles white. Laptop. Her knuckles turning white. Bore. After that chipset was integrated, the emergency triage misdiagnosis rate increased. I submitted a gray box test report, but it was deleted. Lu Chengzi's face darkened his expression. Di, Xu Tang, do you even realize what you're aware, what you know what you're saying? Qingya's gaze, I saw, lowered his expression. And Ditich, Xu Tang, do you know what you? I know. The screen, lit up screen flickered. The backup of the deleted report that was deleted opened after restoration in deleted report. Test time. Sample number, model version. Serial number, link model version. Chain, clearly visible. Test time test. After reading, Shen Qinghe's face turned icy cold. Why wasn't the report didn't go through pre-release risk assessment? Sun Yan looked at Lu Chengzi. Lu Chengzi immediately said, the testing department doesn't fully understands the new algorithm. Extreme samples cannot represent the main sen. Ario, old Luo, pushed the door. I represent architecture. Speak. 他手里也拿着一份打印日志. There is section. There's no such vulnerability in Zhou Yan's original security layer. The emergency triage threshold drift only appeared after Lu Chengzi's team after his team integrated pack. Lu Chengzi stared at him. Luo, you, of course you're part of the old technical team. Of he talk for him. Lu slammed paper on. I speak for the data. The conference room fell into dead silence. Chen Mo handed the patent registration documents to Shen Qinghe. Kane D. This is the patent for the commercial authorization for Langson priority business, includes data. Zheng Huayuan could no longer sit still. That is impossible. Langson Gen 3 is company property. Chen Mo looked at him. Corporate assets and personal patent licensing are two different things. With so many lawyers around CEO Zheng, no one ever told you that. Zheng Huayuan's expression turned grim. I warned. You've warned you. Of course, someone had warned him. They just thought I wouldn't dare to take it out. Sun Yan picked up that registration document, her hands trembling slightly. She looked at the name on the registration page of the registration. Zhou Yan, patent holder of the patent rights. She looked up at me. My knee. You never told me. I said. You signed the agreement. She froze. 5 years ago, when Starland was barely holding on by a thread bar. She had to sign dozens of documents a day. She only remembered me saying, this is authorized for the company's use. Let's get the project running first. She had probably never actually took a serious look. She thinks that what is mine will eventually become hers. The test results came back faster than expected. Risk source identified. The external algorithm, package integrated by Lu Chengzi's team, integrated bypassed partial validation of the partial security layer validation of the security layer, causing the emergency triage model for emergency triage to misdiagnose in specific clinical scenarios. No similar risks were found in Zhou Yan's origin. AL architecture. The authorization lock was triggered by the non-emergency, non-commercial pause trigger, not affecting already registered hospitals, emergency, whitelist, not. 3 sentences. Each sentence felt like a slap. Striking at the words on the stage said, father of Langson and keys to an old era on the were on stage. The media had already started to publish release articles. The media. Starland's press conference backfires. Core authorization belongs to someone. Core authorization to Kane. Overseas Sibi returned CTO takes over in charge for 3 weeks. Safety 3. Layer risks exposed for 3 weeks exposed. The Smart Medical Project Review Team is conducting an intervention assessment. Lu Chengzi still refused to admit it. He stood up, his voice tense, his voice tight. The testing samples are incomplete. I demand a retest. Zhou Yan thoroughly understands the system. He could easily manipulate it to set traps beforehand. Shen Qinghe looked up, raised her eyes. Mr. Lu, you just said, you were saying that you are the lead this project. Lu Chengzi paused. Bunny yes. Then explain why the 12th safety layer of security verification. Why can't it be mirrored copy? The 12th validation. Of the same way, he opened his mouth as if only to say few words that were never born, failed to answer. Shen Qinghe asked again, is this also your first time to root? End. Why are the separation between the of Langson Gen 3's emergency whitelist from the emergency and commercial demonstration authorization? Lu Chengzi, Lu's face grew paler and paler. And this is a historical design, not a reasonable one. You can't even fail to mention the design intent. Leave this blank. No one spoke in the meeting room. Sun Yan's face completely lost its color. She looked at Lu Chengzi, studying looked at for the first time with a scrutinizing gaze. Chengzi, answer that. Lu Chengzi looked at her. Fei Dane. Nian, you don't believe me either. This sentence was all felt too familiar was too familiar. Many times in the past, he had used this tone, made her stand with this tone. He had gotten Nian take his side. This time, Sun Yan did not immediately speaking. Chen Mo suddenly pushed a stack of documents to the center of the table. Since Mr. Lu insists he has the capability to lead the Langson Gen 3rd Gen chip, we would also like for him to clarify regarding his credentials. Lu Chengxi's pupils contracted slightly. Contract. What do you mean? Chen Mo Chen turned. On the projector, the first page turned to Lu Chengxi's publicly displayed RSM. The second page is the second page, a list of the official team for the overseas project. His name was absent. The third page is a list of the list of outsourcing suppliers. There is an abbreviation, LCZ. Page 4 is a screenshot of an email. Lu Chengxi Lu had participated in peripheral data, had been organizer format, not core RID, not an architecture consultant, nor is it the project leader. Media outlets, tipped off by the scent of news, had already gathered outside the venue. Su Nian stared at the projection, his voice barely above a whisper. Sadie, this is fake, isn't it? Lu Chengxi's face turned pale. This is taking things taken out of context. Overseas projects involve complex division of labor that is complex, and many tasks won't appear on the official website. Shen Qinghe calmly added another sentence. I contacted the original project's original lead. He confirmed that Mr. Lu did not participate in and of the core architectural design. Lu Chengxi suddenly looked at her. Shen Qinghe handed over passes, a reply letter. The review team has verified it. Lu Chengxi took half step back. Zheng Huayuan's phone rang again. His expression shifted. Expression turned grim the moment he answered. What? Withdraw the letter of intent. Hold on, Mr. This hasn't been finalized. Whatever was said on the end of the line, said unknown. Zheng Huayuan's demeanor shifted from stubborn to panic. Capital always awakens faster than emotions. As soon as Lu Chengxi's resume was exposed, they immediately distanced themselves from him. But it wasn't over yet. Shu Tang pulled up another set of logs. And this. Her voice trembled slightly, but she spoke clearly. On the 16th of June at 11:48 p.m., Lu Chengxi's personal terminal copied a set of underlying data mapping tables, followed by a record. The conference room fell silent, as if someone had hit pause. The color completely drained from Lu Chengxi's face, completely drained of lore. You're lying. Lin Zhou suddenly stood up. Mr. Lu said it was for compatibility evaluation for compatibility with the overseas partner. I didn't know it wasn't allowed to be shared. After speaking, he froze himself. Lu Chengxi turned his head around sharply. Shut up. But those two words were already too late. Su Nian stood up. His feet swayed slightly. She gripped the edge of the table. You leaked Xinglan's data? Lu Chengxi panicked. Nian, I did it for the company. Overseas capital requires technical due diligence. I was just showing them a portion in advance. Who authorized you to look at this? I spoke. He looked at me, his eyes as if he wanted to devour me. Zhou Yan, did you set this trap long ago? I shook my head. It was the log you left yourself. You knew all along, so why only bring it out now? Because before, I only had suspicion. I looked at him. The evidence is complete now. Lu Chengxi rushed over, but the lawyer behind Chen Mo blocked him. Zheng Huayuan has already stood up and walked towards the door. This matter is Lu Chengxi's personal conduct. The investors and were not involved. President Su, you will handle the follow-up yourselves. Su Nian suddenly looked at him sharply. President Zheng, you were the one who insisted on bringing in Chengxi in the first place. President Zheng Huayuan's face was expressionless. I'm basing this on the recommendation you provided. With a single sentence pushed her out as well. Su Nian stood there, as if she finally realized that the savior she had personally helped bring to power stood on nothing but quicksand. The equity freeze on Xinglan Medical Technologies shares took effect the night of the press conference. The Smart Healthcare Project Review Committee suspended the cooperation process with Xinglan. Lu Chengxi was taken in for investigation. Lin Zhou and the entire New Technology Group's projects were all suspended pending review. Zheng Huayuan convened an emergency board meeting overnight, trying to absolve himself of all responsibility. By the time I returned to that small office, it was already dark. Chen Mo followed behind, trailing behind, loosened his tie. Was it satisfying? I poured myself a glass of cold water for myself. I'm tired. He slumped into the chair. You're really no fun. Anyone else would be popping champagne tonight. I opened my computer and checked the hospital emergency monitor. Yungang First Hospital, the Eastern District Emergency Station, and 3 community diagnostic terminals in the community are all operating stably. Green, no red lights at all. I finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Mo stared at the screen, suddenly falling silent. You really won't take any risks. A single risk. That is a medical system. A medical system. I know. He smiled slightly. ND, that is why I'm willing to help you. The phone vibrated. Su Nian sent a message. I'm downstairs. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, a knock sounded at the door. Not too heavy. Chen glanced at me. I'll go buy coffee. He walked very fast. The door opened. Su Nian stood outside. She hadn't changed clothes, still wearing the same black dress from the press conference. Her hair was disheveled, and her makeup slightly smeared makeup. She saw this simple office. Rose, have you been here the whole time? I told him open the door. She walked in, saw the old course schedule on the wall, then noticed the server monitoring screen on the desk. On the screen, the hospital side's green lights were lit up in rows. Her eyes suddenly red-rimmed suddenly. You really kept the hospital in. I looked at her. I told you, this is a safety issue. Her lips trembled slightly. I thought, Teddy, you thought I was retaliating. She lowered her head. No, denial. The silence between us stretched on for a long while. Only then did she finally speak. Fei Teddy, Lu Cheng's data leak. Something leaked. I didn't it. I know. She jerked her head up. I said, but you know he stole my credit. Her face turned pale. Zhou Yan, you also know that the test report was suppressed. The light in the dark. I continued. You also know that when the company suspended me, the reason was that personal emotions were affecting the project. She reached out and grabbed the back of the seat. Her voice, very low voice. I thought back then that once the crisis could be remediable. I looked at her. Make up for what? She couldn't speak. Bonus, position, equity, those things she used to think could resolve all grievances, because she was accustomed to negotiating compensation in business. But some things, once erased, can never be bought back with money. Sunian walked to the table and picked up old ID badge. When I leave take it. The admin department later cleared out his things, and old Luo secretly sent it over. She rubbed her fingertip along the edge, and at last, the tears finally fell. I remember this photo. It was taken the day the company was first registered. Yes, that shirt you wore that day was borrowed. Yeah. She smiled, but it looked more like crying a yet sadder sight. At that time, I told you that when Lan goes public, you're put at the very front. I said nothing. Sunian clutched her badge tightly, in her employee badge. Zhou Yan, I was wrong. These 4 words came very late. I no longer knew how to respond for being late. She looked up at me. Come back. I asked calmly. Go where? Starland. She became anxious. Day S. Lu Chengzi is finished, and I'll handle Zheng Huayuan's side. The board knows that Langson can't work for board, also aware depends on board can do without you. Come back, I'll make you CTO. No, I'll also give you the CEO position. Su Nian Su. I interrupted her. She stopped. I said, I'm not coming back. Please translate. I'm not going back. Something in her eyes held shattered. For a moment, are you still blaming me for what happened? Of course, I blame you, blame me. Her face paled. I continued. SAD. But I'm not going back, just because I blame. I walked to the window. Across the hospital building opposite, a few lights were still on the upper floors, were still on the other side, were LL on. Starland's problem isn't just one Lu Chengzi. It's that all of you believe technology can be packaged and replaced. Safety can make way for financing, can be first and then compensated. Su Nian stared at me, stunned. I said, I don't want to put my work into a system, into a set of rules like that again. Her voice was voice. When Daidao. So you've had plan all along? I didn't answer. Footsteps sounded from outside the door. Shen Qinghe knocked, then entered. She was not surprised to see Su Nian. Sorry for the intrusion. She placed a document onto the table, placed on. Pre-notification, notice for re-evaluation of the Smart Medical Security Upgrade Project of Cloud Port. Port pre-notification notice for re-evaluation of project. Smart Medical Security Upgrade of Cloud Port re-evaluation. Zhou Yan, please submit your new company documents must be submitted before 10 a.m. tomorrow. Su Nian suddenly looked at me. A new company. I lowered my head down and opened the file. Company name section. Reads, Yanqi Medical System, Legal Representative, Zhou Yan. Establishment date, 3 months ago. Su Nian's face completely lost all color in this moment. 3 months ago. She murmured. That was when Lu Chengzi had just returned to the country. That was when she first started cutting me out of the core meetings. That was when I still returning to every day to Starland, fixing systems for her, reviewing reports for her, covering up all the loopholes for her. She probably thought I was just quiet, but they don't realize that the silent ones are also Pavan. G of the path. 2 can be accomplished step by step, will be little by little. Shen Qinghe glanced at Su Nian saying nothing more. Director Han Yuan's team is willing to cooperate with the security upgrade tests. The project review of the project depends on the underlying security fundamentals, not press release, not on release and not on the release SCR, IPT and of the press conference. She finished speaking and nodded at me again. See you tomorrow. After she left, only Su Nian and I remained in the office. Suyan's name badge slipped from her hand and landed on the desk. She asked softly, so, I'm the one who can't live without you? I didn't answer. Some answers didn't need to be spoken again, for the tech scene in Cloudport Cloud was buzzing like a wasp's nest stirred up. Lu Cheng's fabricated resume fraud has been proven to be fake. The overseas project team issued a statement His so-called core member was merely a short-term outsourced testing participant. In testing participant, the data breach case has entered investigation. Starlan was summoned for a meeting. Zheng Huai tried to distance herself evasive, but Baichao submitted the minutes of a force me signed supplementary contract meeting minutes. That recording said very clear. The personal rights of technical personnel can be resolved gradually after listing. Let the day. After that statement was made public, the investment circle also fell silent. Capital can be overbearing, but not so foolish as to wear compliance risks on its sleeve. The board of Singlan was restructured. Sunian resigned as CEO retaining only a small equity and the title of technical transformation consultant. The day Lao Luo quit, he called me. I'm out. I asked, thinking about taking some time off? He cursed, with a laugh. Rest my ass. Right. That crappy new company of yours doesn't even have a proper bench, does it? I laughed too. I laughed as well. Yes, it is secondhand. Then I must go even more, or else you'll end up all alone in the computer lab alone, again all by yourself. Xu Tangshu was the third to arrive at Yanqi. She came carrying a hard drive and a pot of a heart of nearly withered pothos. Well, nothing special. I was just asking. What is this? She said. Day. Potted plants from the testing department's old workstation. No one over at Starlan waters them anymore. Chen Mo was the last to join the group, holding the contract. His face was full of disdain. Your tech company is really broke, I said. Equity partner, no base salary. He turned and left. At the door, he looked back. How much in shares? Yanqi Medical System came together just like that. The small office was replaced by a small portion of a half floor of a commercial building. Did not look grand. Elevator light at the elevator entrance broke twice. But everyone knows exactly what they're doing. The safety upgrade test at Yonggang First Hospital was our first official project. Han Qiming personally came to the scene in person. When he saw me. The first words he said were, "Don't hide yourself in the basement this time." I nodded. Not anymore. He patted me on the shoulder. Engineer Joe, the medical system needs people like you to step up there. I said nothing, just connecting the new security architecture diagram to the large screen. This time, there was only one name in the creator credits. Zhou Yan. No advisor. There is no behind the scenes. There are no temporary. The test started at 9 in the morning. Emergency triage, remote diagnostics, medication reminders, community terminal responses. One by one, the systems ran through the paces. All logs are backed up on the moment they are end to chain in real time. All authorization paths are displayed in a layered paths. All emergency whitelist lists are verified individually. Han Qiming stood in front of the screen, examining it carefully. Lao Luo beside him muttered. Now, this is a system feels like something made by humans. Xu Tang couldn't help but smile. At 4:27 p.m., the final set of emergency simulation samples completed. The terminal lit up with a green indicator. Safety upgrade test passed the upgrade test. The meeting room went silent for a second. Then someone started clapping. The applause was modest but sincere. I stared at the screen. Suddenly, I remembered 5 years ago, when the first prototype of Singlan ran successfully. Sunian hugged me and spun me around in the basement. She said, "Zhou Yan, we've succeeded." Back then, that success was ours. But later, somewhere along the way, it became her company, her IPO, her capital story, and I became a name that could be erased. The phone buzzed once. It is Sunian. She sent a photo. The old Starlan laboratory was empty. On my desk lay that old employee badge. Below it was a line of text. "Sorry, and I wish you success." I looked at it for a long time. Then, I replied with 2 words. "Received." She quickly sent back, "Can we still meet one more time?" I didn't respond. I log out of the chat window, move them to the regular contacts. When the phone screen went dark, Han Qiming walked over. "Joe, the municipal project review panel just notified that Yanqi that they've made it onto THE final list of final candidates." Old Lo shouted from behind, "What is for dinner?" I'll say I first. Don't order that terrible boxed from the place downstairs again. Chen Mo held a file folder. Sign the contract first, then eat after signing the contract. Xu Tang raised his hand. I'm applying for a leave to buy a new pot for my pothos. The meeting room erupted into an uproar. Very messy, very real. I stood before the large screen, watching the terminals at First Hospital. 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights. The new security system logs showed the activation time of activation. This time, I didn't stand backstage. My name is written in the most prominent position, obvious place on the most prominent position on the project's homepage. Zhou Yan, founder of Yanqi Medical Systems. I turned off my phone and walked toward the conference table. Behind me, rows of green dots spread across the screen. %2, like a city, lighting up again. I don't look back.